The wind howled like a wild animal outside the old bus shelter. Maya pulled her thin jacket tighter around herself and her little daughter, Lily. The 3-year-old was shivering despite being wrapped in every piece of clothing they owned. Maya could feel her daughter's tiny body trembling against her chest. "Mama, I'm cold," Lily whispered, her voice so small it barely reached Maya's ears over the storm. "I know, sweetheart. Mama's going to fix this," Maya replied, though she wasn't sure how. They had been living on the streets for 2 weeks now, ever since the landlord changed the locks on their apartment door. Maya had tried everything, sleeping in her old car until it broke down, staying at the shelter until it filled up, even spending one terrible night in a 24-hour laundromat until the owner kicked them out. Maya looked at her daughter's pale face and felt her heart breaking. Lily had been such a happy child just a month ago. She used to run around their small apartment, playing with her stuffed rabbit and singing silly songs. Now she barely spoke, and when she did, it was usually to ask for food or complain about being cold. The young mother remembered when life was different. She used to work at a small restaurant downtown, nothing fancy, but it paid enough for their little apartment and groceries. Then the owner decided to close the place and move to another city. Just like that, Maya lost her job. She looked everywhere for work, but nobody wanted to hire someone with no high school diploma and a small child to care for. The storm was getting worse. Maya could see ice forming on the bus shelter windows. She knew they couldn't survive another night like this. Lily was already showing signs of being sick. Her forehead felt hot, and she had been coughing all day. Across the street, Maya noticed a warm yellow light glowing from the windows of a small house. She had seen the house before during their wandering around the neighborhood. It looked cozy and safe, with a little garden in front and clean curtains in the windows. Sometimes she saw a man there, usually coming home from work in the evening. He always looked tired but not unkind. Maya had learned a few things about him from watching and from overhearing conversations at the local grocery store. His name was Daniel, and he was a carpenter. People said he was a good man who had lost his wife not too long ago. The neighbors mentioned how quiet he had become after the funeral, how he worked long hours just to avoid going home to an empty house. As Maya stared at that warm light, a desperate plan began forming in her mind. She knew it was wrong. She knew it was dangerous. But looking down at Lily's fevered face, she realized she was out of options. Her daughter might not make it through another cold night. "Mama, my tummy hurts," Lily mumbled, her small hand pressing against her stomach. That was it. Maya made her decision. She gathered what little strength she had left and picked up her daughter. Lily felt so light. Too light. Maya realized with horror that her child was losing weight. The walk across the street felt like a journey across an ocean. Each step was harder than the last. Maya's legs felt like rubber, and black spots danced in front of her eyes. She hadn't eaten anything in 2 days, saving the last of their food for Lily. Standing in front of Daniel's door, Maya hesitated. What was she about to do? She was going to beg a stranger to help her child, and she was willing to offer the only thing she thought she had left to give. It felt wrong and desperate, but desperation had become her closest companion these past weeks. Maya raised her shaking hand and knocked on the door. The sound seemed too loud in the quiet night, even with the storm raging around them. She heard footsteps inside, slow and heavy. The porch light came on, and Maya squinted in the sudden brightness. The door opened, and there stood Daniel. He was taller than she had expected, with kind eyes and work-worn hands. He looked surprised to see someone at his door so late at night, especially in such terrible weather. "Please," Maya whispered, her voice cracking from cold and exhaustion. "I know this is wrong, and I know you don't know me, but my daughter is sick, and we have nowhere to go." Daniel's eyes moved from Maya's face to the small child in her arms. Lily had fallen into an uneasy sleep, her cheeks red with fever. Maya swallowed hard, preparing to say words that made her feel ashamed, even as they formed in her mind. She looked up at this stranger who might be their only hope. "I don't have money or anything valuable to give you," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I'll do anything you want. I'll warm your bed, I'll clean your house, I'll do whatever you need. Please, just give my daughter some food and a warm place to sleep." The moment the words left her mouth, Maya felt the last of her strength leave her body. The combination of hunger, cold, exhaustion, and the shame of what she had just offered finally overwhelmed her. The world started spinning, and her knees buckled. The last thing she remembered was feeling herself falling forward, still clutching, Lily tightly against her chest, and hoping that this stranger would catch them both before they hit the ground. Daniel's arms caught Maya and Lily just before they hit the cold ground. For a moment, he stood there in his doorway, holding two strangers who had literally fallen into his life. Maya was unconscious, her body limp from exhaustion, while Lily stirred weakly in her mother's arms. Without thinking twice, Daniel lifted them both and carried them inside his warm house. The contrast between the howling storm outside and the cozy interior was like stepping into a different world. Daniel gently placed Maya on his living room couch and carefully took Lily from her arms. The little girl's skin felt burning hot against his hands. "Hey there, little one," Daniel whispered softly to Lily, who opened her tired eyes and looked at him with confusion. "You're safe now." Daniel had learned a lot about taking care of sick people during the final months of his wife's illness. He knew the signs of fever and dehydration when he saw them. Lily needed help, and she needed it fast. He wrapped both mother and daughter in thick blankets from his bedroom, then went to his kitchen to prepare something that might help. He heated up some chicken soup his neighbor had brought him last week, making sure it wasn't too hot for a small child to drink. He also filled a glass with cool water and grabbed some medicine from his bathroom cabinet. When Daniel returned to the living room, Maya was starting to wake up. Her eyes fluttered open, and she immediately looked around in panic. "Lily!" she called out, trying to sit up too quickly and nearly falling over from dizziness. "She's right. Here," Daniel said gently, pointing to where Lily was curled up next to her mother on the couch. "She's safe. You're both safe." Maya stared at Daniel as if she couldn't believe what was happening. You helped us?" "Of course I did," Daniel replied, setting the warm soup on the coffee table in front of them. "You needed help." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "But I offered to—" She couldn't finish the sentence, too embarrassed by her desperate words from earlier. Daniel sat down in the chair across from them and looked Maya directly in the eyes. "You don't owe me anything," he said firmly. "You were scared and desperate, and you were trying to protect your daughter. I understand that, but I'm not the kind of man who would take advantage of someone in your situation." Lily started to cough, a deep rattling sound that worried both adults. Daniel moved closer and felt her forehead again. "She needs to see a doctor, but right now let's get some food and medicine in her." Daniel helped Lily sit up and gave her small sips of the warm soup. At first, she was too weak to eat much, but gradually she managed to drink almost half the bowl. Maya watched in amazement as color slowly returned to her daughter's cheeks. "When did you last eat?" Daniel asked Maya, noticing how thin she looked. 2 days ago," Maya admitted quietly. "I gave our last food to Lily." Daniel disappeared into the kitchen again and returned with another bowl of soup and some crackers. "Eat," he said simply. "You can't take care of her if you don't take care of yourself first." As Maya ate, she studied Daniel's face. He looked tired, with lines around his eyes that spoke of recent sadness. She noticed wedding photos on the mantel, showing Daniel with a beautiful woman who had the kindest smile Maya had ever seen. "Your wife was lovely," Maya said softly. Daniel's expression grew sad but peaceful. She was. She died 6 months ago. Cancer. He paused, then added, She would have wanted me to help you. Anna always said our house was too big for just 2 people, and we should fill it with people who needed a safe place. Anna, Maya repeated. That's a beautiful name. She was a beautiful person, Daniel said. She used to volunteer at the children's hospital, reading stories to kids who were stuck in bed. She would have loved Lily. As if hearing her name, Lily looked up at Daniel with curious eyes. Are you a daddy? She asked in her small voice. Daniel's throat tightened. He and Anna had wanted children but were never blessed with them. No, sweetheart, but I think I'd like to be a friend, if that's okay with you. Lily nodded and smiled for the first time in weeks. Friends are nice. That night, Daniel gave Maya and Lily his guest bedroom, the room that Anna had always kept ready for visitors who never came. He found clean clothes for both of them and made sure Lily's fever was coming down before he let himself rest. Maya lay awake for hours, staring at the clean white ceiling and listening to her daughter's peaceful breathing beside her. For the first time in weeks, Lily wasn't coughing or shivering. She was sleeping deeply and safely. Maya thought about Daniel's kindness. He hadn't judged her or made her feel ashamed. He hadn't taken advantage of her desperate offer. Instead, he had simply helped, the way one human being should help another in need. In the room next door, Daniel also lay awake, but for different reasons. His house hadn't felt this alive in months. For half a year, he had been moving through his days like a ghost, going through the motions of living without really feeling alive. The silence had been crushing him, but he hadn't realized how much until he heard Lily's soft breathing and Maya's gentle voice saying goodnight. Maybe, Daniel thought as he finally drifted off to sleep, Anna had sent them to him. Maybe this was her way of making sure he didn't disappear completely into his grief. Whatever the reason, he was grateful they had knocked on his door, and he was determined to help them get back on their feet. Neither Maya nor Daniel knew it yet, but that stormy night had changed all their lives forever. 3 weeks had passed since that stormy night, and Daniel's house had transformed completely. Where once there had been only silence and emptiness, now there was laughter echoing from the kitchen and the sound of little feet running down the hallway. Maya woke up every morning before sunrise, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. For the first time in months, she had energy and purpose. She would quietly make coffee for Daniel before he left for work, pack him a lunch, and have breakfast ready when he came downstairs. You don't have to do this, Daniel told her every morning, but Maya always shook her head. I want to help, she would reply. You've given us so much. Let me give something back. The truth was, Maya felt useful again. During those terrible weeks on the street, she had felt like a failure, like she couldn't protect or provide for her daughter. But here, taking care of Daniel's home, she remembered that she was good at making a house feel like a home. Lily had bounced back with the amazing resilience that only children possess. Her fever had broken after 2 days, and now she spent her mornings playing with the wooden blocks that Daniel had made for her in his workshop. She would build towers and knock them down, giggling each time they crashed to the floor. Uncle, Daniel, she would call out when he came home from work, running to hug his legs. Daniel had never asked her to call him uncle, but somehow it felt natural to all of them. Daniel found himself looking forward to coming home for the first time since Anna's death. Instead of facing an empty house filled with memories, he came home to the smell of dinner cooking and Lily's excited chatter about her day. One evening, as they sat around the dinner table sharing a meal that Maya had prepared, Daniel noticed how different Maya looked. The dark circles under her eyes had disappeared, and she had gained back some healthy weight. Most importantly, she smiled now, really smiled. not just the worried half-smile she had worn those first few days. "Maya," Daniel said, setting down his fork, "can I ask you something?" "Of course," Maya replied, helping Lily cut her chicken into smaller pieces. "What did you do before everything got difficult?" Maya was quiet for a moment, and Daniel worried he had asked something too personal. But then she looked up at him with a thoughtful expression. "I was studying to be a teacher," she said softly. "I was in my second year of college when I got pregnant with Lily. Her father, well, he decided he wasn't ready to be a dad and left. I had to drop out of school to work and take care of her." "You wanted to teach children?" Daniel asked, genuinely interested. Maya's face lit up. "I loved it. I was good at it too. I did my practice teaching at an elementary school, and the kids seemed to really connect with me. I used to dream about having my own classroom one day." Lily looked up from her dinner. "Mama teaches me numbers and letters every day," she announced proudly. Daniel smiled at the little girl, then looked back at Maya. "What would it take for you to go back to school?" Maya laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Everything. Money for tuition, money for books, someone to watch Lily while I'm in class, a car to get there." She shook her head. "It's impossible now." "Maybe not as impossible as you think," Daniel said quietly. Over the next few days, Daniel did some research. He called the local community college and learned about their education program. He found out about financial aid and childcare services. He even discovered that they had evening and weekend classes for working parents. When he presented this information to Maya, she stared at him in disbelief. "You want to help me go back to school?" she asked. "I want to help you build the life you deserve," Daniel replied. "You and Lily both." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "Why? Why would you do all this for us?" Daniel was quiet for a long moment, thinking about how to explain what he was feeling. "After Anna died, I thought my life was over too. I was just going through the motions, working and sleeping and trying not to think too much. But having you and Lily here, it's reminded me that life can still have meaning, still have joy." He paused, watching Lily play with her blocks in the corner of the room. "Anna and I always wanted children, but it never happened for us. She used to say that maybe we were meant to help children in different ways. Maybe this is what she meant." Maya wiped her eyes. "I don't know how I'll ever repay you for all this kindness." "You already have," Daniel said. "You've brought life back into this house. You've reminded me what it feels like to have a family, even if it's not the traditional kind." That night after Lily was asleep, Maya and Daniel sat on the front porch, talking about her dreams and his plans to help her achieve them. They talked about practical things like class schedules and study time, but they also talked about hopes and fears and the future they were all building together. "I never imagined that night I knocked on your door would lead to this," Maya said, looking up at the stars. "I never imagined I'd feel hopeful again," Daniel replied. "But here we are." As autumn turned to winter, their unusual little family found its rhythm. Maya enrolled in 2 evening classes at the community college. Daniel would come home early on those days to watch Lily, and they would both be waiting with hot chocolate when Maya returned from school, eager to hear about her day. Lily started calling their arrangement playing house, and in many ways that's exactly what it felt like. They were 3 people who had found each other at exactly the right moment, each filling a space in the other's lives that they hadn't even realized was empty. None of them talked about what their relationship was becoming, but they all felt it growing stronger every day. They were no longer just a man helping a woman and child in need. They were becoming something more precious and rare. A family built not on obligation or tradition, but on choice, kindness, and genuine care for each other's happiness. Everything was going perfectly until the day Maya's past came knocking at Daniel's front door. It was a Tuesday morning and Maya was getting ready for her college classes when she heard the aggressive pounding. Through the window, she saw a man she had hoped never to see again, Tyler, Lily's father. Maya's hands started shaking as she opened the door. Tyler looked the same as always. Messy hair, clothes that smelled like cigarettes, and that angry expression he wore whenever he wanted something. "So this is where you've been hiding," Tyler said, pushing past Maya into the house. "Living like a queen while I've been looking everywhere for you." "What do you want, Tyler?" Maya asked, trying to keep her voice steady. She glanced toward the living room where Lily was playing, hoping her daughter wouldn't notice the tension. "I want my daughter back," Tyler announced loudly. "And I want the money you owe me." Maya stared at him in confusion. "What money?" "I don't owe you anything." Tyler's face twisted into a cruel smile. "The disability checks, Maya. The ones that come because of my back injury. You used to help me cash them, remember? The government thinks we're still together, living at the same address. Those checks have been piling up and I need that money." Maya felt sick to her stomach. She had completely forgotten about Tyler's disability payments. When they were together, he had asked her to help him with the paperwork because, he said, reading was hard for him. She had listed their apartment as his address, not knowing that he planned to use this against her later. "I'm not involved with those checks anymore," Maya said firmly. "And you can't just take Lily. You left us, remember? You said you didn't want to be a father." "Well, I changed my mind," Tyler said, looking around Daniel's comfortable house with obvious jealousy. "Looks like my little girl is living pretty well here. But she belongs with her real father, not some stranger." At that moment, Lily appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes sleepily. "Mama, who is the loud man?" Tyler's expression softened slightly when he saw his daughter, but Maya could see the calculation in his eyes. He wasn't here because he missed Lily. He was here because he thought he could use her to get what he wanted. "Hey there, princess," Tyler said, crouching down to Lily's level. "I'm your daddy. Remember me?" Lily looked at him with confusion and hid behind Maya's legs. "I don't remember you," she said quietly. Tyler's face darkened again. "Well, you're going to get to know me real well because you're coming home with Daddy." "No," Maya said, stepping protectively in front of her daughter. "You can't just show up after all this time and demand to take her. You have no legal rights." Tyler laughed, harshly. "Actually, I do. I'm her biological father and I've been looking into this. Unless you can prove I'm unfit, the courts will give me custody. And you? You're just a homeless woman who's been living with some strange man. How do you think that looks to a judge?" Maya felt her world crashing down around her. Everything she had built with Daniel, all the progress she had made, all of Lily's happiness. Tyler could destroy it all. Just then, Daniel's truck pulled into the driveway. He had come home early to watch Lily while Maya went to class. When he walked through the door and saw Tyler standing in his living room, Maya could see the protective instinct kick in immediately. "Who are you?" Daniel asked calmly, but Maya could hear the steel in his voice. "I'm Lily's father," Tyler said, puffing out his chest. "And I'm here to take my family back." Daniel looked at Maya, who was clearly terrified, then at Lily, who was clinging to her mother's leg. "Maya, do you want this man here?" "No," Maya whispered. "Then you need to leave," Daniel told Tyler firmly. Tyler laughed. "You can't make me leave. This concerns my daughter." "This is my house," Daniel replied, "and you're not welcome here." The situation escalated quickly. Tyler started yelling about his rights as a father and threatening to call the police. Daniel remained calm but firm, eventually convincing Tyler to leave by promising that if he had legitimate legal concerns, he should handle them through proper channels. After Tyler left, Maya collapsed on the couch in tears. "He's going to take her," she sobbed. "He's going to take Lily away from me." Daniel sat beside her and put a comforting arm around her shoulders. "We won't let that happen." "We?" Maya looked up at him through her tears. "Yes, we," Daniel said firmly. "You're not facing this alone." Over the next few days, Daniel proved just how serious he was about that promise. He used his savings to hire a lawyer for Maya, a kind woman named Jennifer who specialized in family law. Jennifer explained that while Tyler did have biological rights, the court would consider what was best for Lily. The fact that he abandoned you both and only returned when he thought there was money involved will work in your favor, Jennifer assured Maya. But we need to document everything. Where you've been living, Lily's stability and happiness, Tyler's history of abandonment. Meanwhile, Maya was dealing with pressure from another direction. Some people in Daniel's neighborhood had started talking about their living situation. Mrs. Peterson from next door made disapproving comments about that woman and her child, taking advantage of Daniel's kindness. At the grocery store, Maya overheard whispers about how she had moved in awfully fast and how Daniel was being fooled by a pretty face. The gossip hurt, but what hurt more was seeing how it affected Daniel. His friends at work started asking uncomfortable questions. His late wife's sister, Carol, showed up one evening with a stern expression and lots of opinions. "Anna's been gone less than a year," Carol said, sitting stiffly in Daniel's living room while Maya tried to make herself invisible in the kitchen. "Don't you think you're moving on a little too quickly?" "I'm helping a family in need," Daniel replied quietly. "Are you?" Carol asked. "Or are you replacing Anna with the first woman who needed rescuing?" Maya felt like she might be sick. Was that all she was to Daniel? A replacement for his dead wife? A project to make him feel better about his loss? That night, after Lily was asleep, Maya and Daniel had their first real fight. Not a yelling match, but a quiet, painful conversation about doubt and fear and what they really meant to each other. "Maybe Carol is right," Maya said, sitting at the kitchen table with her hands wrapped around a cold cup of coffee. "Maybe I am just taking advantage of your grief." "Don't say that," Daniel replied, but Maya could hear the uncertainty in his voice. "Tyler was right about one thing," Maya continued. "This does look bad. A homeless woman moving in with a widower, taking his money for school, letting him fight her legal battles. What kind of person does that make me?" Daniel was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was stronger, more certain. "It makes you someone who was brave enough to ask for help when your child needed it. It makes you someone who worked hard to rebuild your life instead of giving up. And it makes you someone I care about deeply, not because you remind me of Anna, but because you're you." He reached across the table and took her hands. "I won't lie and say Anna's death didn't leave me vulnerable. But what I feel for you isn't about filling a void or replacing anyone. It's about the future we could build together." Maya looked into his eyes and saw the truth there. "I'm scared, Daniel. What if Tyler wins? What if he takes Lily away?" "Then we'll figure it out together," Daniel said. "Whatever happens, you're not alone anymore." The custody hearing was scheduled for the following month, and Maya spent sleepless nights worrying about the outcome. But during the day, surrounded by Daniel's steady support and Lily's innocent trust that everything would be okay, she found the strength to keep fighting for the life they had built together. The courthouse felt cold and intimidating as Maya walked through its doors on the morning of the custody hearing. Daniel was beside her, wearing his best suit and carrying a folder full of documents that their lawyer Jennifer had prepared. Maya's hands were shaking, but she tried to stay strong for Lily, who was staying with Daniel's neighbor Mrs. Johnson for the day. Tyler was already there with his own lawyer, a tired-looking man who seemed more interested in his phone than the case. Tyler had cleaned himself up for court. His hair was combed, and he wore a wrinkled button-down shirt that was probably borrowed. But Maya could see the same selfish look in his eyes that she remembered from their relationship. Jennifer had prepared Maya well for what to expect. She would have to tell the judge about her life, her struggles, and how she ended up homeless, with Lily. It wasn't going to be easy, but Jennifer assured her that honesty would work in her favor. "Remember," Jennifer whispered as they took their seats, The judge wants to know what's best for Lily. Focus on that. When Maya was called to testify, her voice shook at first. She told the court about losing her job, becoming homeless, and that desperate night when she knocked on Daniel's door. She was honest about her difficult past, but also spoke about her dreams of becoming a teacher and how Daniel had helped her return to school. "I made mistakes," Maya said, looking directly at the judge. "But everything I did was to protect my daughter and give her a better life." Tyler's testimony was less convincing. When asked why he had waited so long to claim his parental rights, he fumbled for answers. His lawyer tried to paint Maya as an unfit mother who was living inappropriately with a stranger, but the evidence didn't support their claims. Then, Daniel was called to testify. Maya had been worried about this moment. What if the pressure from his community and family had changed his mind about supporting her? "Mr. Chen," the judge said, "can you tell the court about your relationship with Maya and Lily?" Daniel spoke clearly and confidently. "Your Honor, Maya and Lily came into my life when we all needed each other most. Maya is one of the hardest-working, most dedicated mothers I've ever known. She sacrificed everything for her daughter's well-being. Lily is a happy, healthy child who deserves to stay with the mother who has never stopped fighting for her." The judge asked Daniel about his motivations for helping them. "Some might say you're being taken advantage of. How do you respond to that?" Daniel smiled slightly. "Your Honor, I've been taken advantage of in the best possible way. Maya and Lily have given me back my joy in life. They've made my house a home again. If that's being taken advantage of, then I hope it continues for the rest of my life." Jennifer then presented evidence of Tyler's abandonment, his financial motivations for seeking custody, and his lack of involvement in Lily's life. She showed the court photos of Lily's progress since living with Maya and Daniel, pictures of her playing happily, helping in the garden, and thriving in her stable environment. The most powerful moment came when the judge asked to speak with Lily privately. Maya's heart pounded as her daughter was led into the judge's chambers. After what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes, they returned. The judge looked serious as he prepared to give his decision. "This case involves a child who has already experienced significant instability in her young life. The court's primary concern is Lily's well-being and what arrangement will best serve her interests." Maya held her breath. "While Mr. Tyler is Lily's biological father, biology alone does not determine fitness for parenthood. The evidence shows that he voluntarily abandoned his parental responsibilities and only returned when he believed there might be financial benefit." The judge continued. "Ms. Maya, despite facing tremendous hardships, has consistently prioritized her daughter's needs above her own. She has provided Lily with stability, love, and a supportive environment for growth and development." Maya felt tears starting to form in her eyes, but she didn't know yet if they would be tears of joy or sorrow. Therefore, the court awards full custody of Lily to her mother, Maya. Mr. Tyler's parental rights are terminated due to abandonment. Should he wish to pursue any relationship with Lily in the future, he may petition the court, but only after demonstrating significant positive changes in his circumstances and character. Maya couldn't stop the tears now. They were definitely tears of joy. Daniel squeezed her hand, and Jennifer smiled broadly. Tyler stormed out of the courtroom with his lawyer, but Maya barely noticed. Lily was safe. Lily was hers. 6 months later, Maya walked across the stage at the community college graduation ceremony. She had completed her teaching certificate, with honors while working part-time at a local daycare center. In the audience, Daniel cheered loudly, while Lily clapped her hands and shouted, "That's my mama!" Maya had been offered a position at Lily's elementary school for the fall semester. The principal had been impressed not only with her qualifications, but with her story of perseverance and determination. That evening, they celebrated at home with a cake that Daniel had attempted to bake himself. It was slightly lopsided, and The frosting was a bit lumpy, but it was made with love, and that made it perfect. As they sat on the front porch after dinner, watching Lily chase fireflies in the yard, Daniel turned to Maya with a serious expression. "Maya, I have something. I want to ask you." Maya's heart started beating faster. Over the past months, their relationship had grown deeper and stronger. They had moved beyond the crisis that brought them together and built something real and lasting. Daniel got down on one knee and pulled out a simple but beautiful ring. "I'm not asking because I feel sorry for you or because I'm trying to replace. Anna, I'm asking because I love you and I love Lily, and I can't imagine my life without both of you in it." Maya looked at this man who had saved her life in every way that mattered. He had given her shelter when she was homeless, hope when she was desperate, and love when she thought she didn't deserve it. "Yes," she whispered, then louder, "Yes." Lily heard the excitement and came running over. "What's happening?" "Daniel asked me to marry him," Maya explained, showing Lily the ring. Lily's face lit up with pure happiness. "Does that mean he'll be my daddy for real?" Daniel lifted Lily up in his arms. "If that's what you want, sweetheart." "I want that very much," Lily said, hugging Daniel tight. Their wedding 3 months later was small but perfect. Maya wore a simple white dress that she had found at a consignment shop, and Daniel wore the same suit he had worn to court. Lily was their flower girl, and she took her job very seriously, making sure every petal was perfectly placed. As they exchanged vows in Daniel's backyard, surrounded by the neighbors who had come to love their unusual family story, Maya thought about that desperate night when she had knocked on his door. She had offered to warm his bed in exchange for her daughter's life, thinking she had nothing else to give. Now she understood that she had always had something much more valuable to offer: her capacity to love, to work hard, to never give up, and to build something beautiful from the ruins of what came before. Daniel's house had become their home, filled with laughter and love and the sound of Lily practicing her reading homework at the kitchen table. Maya taught her students at school during the day and came home to her own family every evening. Sometimes Maya would catch Daniel looking at Anna's picture on the mantel, and instead of feeling jealous, she felt grateful. Anna had loved a man who was capable of opening his heart to others, and Maya knew that Anna would be happy that her house was no longer empty. They were living proof that families come in all different forms, and that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin with the most desperate moments. Maya had knocked on a stranger's door asking for help, and she had found not just shelter, but home.